Okay, my name is Kevin Ty, and my movie was on the Treeless mountain. This is the preview. So the Treeless Mountain is basically a Korean drama movie. It was released in 2018, and the summary of the trailer, this trailer right here, is that two daughters named Jin and Bin are left by their mother, and they stay with their aunt. I'll play it real quick. Okay, and just to play a little bit, it's basically you're seeing like two children like actually living in the moment rather than it's acting. It looks like it's more surreal. How do I? Okay. Now the first technique you can see it was used a lot in the film is a close-up. Now close-up is basically like a shot that captures the person's emotion, like really close up, like to their face, and you can see it a lot in the trailer too. So it's used a lot to capture the actor's emotion, and it's like in fine detail. And as an audience, we can relate to the actor more and have like a deep understanding of like what they're feeling, rather than you see the whole actor, you see the whole shot. You can really focus on like what they're feeling. And this shot right here is like, this is the entire screen. It's just her face looking at the grasshopper. And you can like tell that she's really interested. She doesn't know what the grasshopper is, and she's just exploring different things. Now, I love all the angles used in the film. The biggest angle I saw was like tilting up. And tilting up is when like you see the camera pans from one thing and it pans up vertically. And it happened in this photo too. So the camera was panned on the grasshopper, and then it moved up to show the Bin's face, so it could capture that emotion. And it shows vulnerability. And as you can see right here, a tilt shot is used to visually indicate superiority from the higher angle point of view. It's a great tool to show power versus vulnerability in a film, and that's according to Studio Binder. Now another video technique I saw was the backgrounds they used. So after like a scene or whatever, the next shot will be the entire screen of just where they were or where they live. So in this example, this is the outside apartment of their mother's house. This is in the beginning of the film, and after they were done eating, it cut to this part where it just showed the outside and the crickets chirping. And it shows like how quiet, how moody, and how sad like the night is, or how the town feels, because there's no one in the streets, there's no one outside, it's all dark, and the only thing that lights up are the apartment lights and the city lights, the lamps. And this is also a scene from their aunt's house to show like how empty it is and how like not socialized everyone is. So the cultural significance. Now, Korean and Asian cultures have a lot of similarities and differences, like the education and like how kids live. So in Korean culture, kids in the city and the village and all the rural and urban areas mostly walk to school and come home and walk home. Now you don't really see that much in the United States because mostly people ride the bus. They have cars, and not many people walk home. They walk home is like a 2 to 5 minute walk. But in Korea, you go on a subway, you walk streets, go past streets, and in the film, there's like a whole 5 minute clip of her just walking home. Now another big cultural difference is the how can I say it? How food impacts everyone, or how it impacts how everyone interacts with each other. So when Jin and Bin went to a neighbor's house, the neighbor offered Jin and Bin some cookies, and they said, "Wow, you guys can eat." So it implies friendliness. And when a lot of people cook, especially mothers in Asian cultures and Korea, they want you to eat it. Because if you don't eat it, it shows that you don't like the food. And this is like a sign of disrespect, essentially. Now, some things that are the same, though, is that children have responsibilities. This is very huge in the United States and many other countries as well. Because everyone gives their child something to do. Like mowing the lawn, doing the dishes. And in the movie, Jin and Bin have to clean the floor of the aunt's house. They have to pick the vegetables. They have to wash the vegetables. They have to wash their own clothes. And this is pretty universal, I think, in a lot of cultures because it gives children, responsibilities. It makes them self-sufficient. And it gives them, like, a sense of what to do when they're, grown up. Because, like, if you don't teach your child how to do the dishes when they're, like, in middle school or elementary school and in high school, what are they going to do when they go to college and have a dorm? They don't know how to do the dishes. And here's a little article showing how giving chores will make kids become good citizens by The Wire. It's a little tweet that came out. And here's, remember when I said about how eating is a big culture or a big impact in the Asian cultures? This is how Jin and Bin would eat. So they'll, sit on the floor, they'll have bowls of food, and everyone would share. And Jin and Bin would just, pick out foods of which one they want to eat. And since there's so many options, obviously if no one wants to eat, that means it's like a sign of disrespect that they don't like the food or they don't want to eat the food. And a big example of this is when Jin didn't want to eat the aunt's food when they first came to the aunt's house. And the aunt said, "This is not like the city food," meaning she can't cook like in the city. Alright, personal response. So, in this film, there were 2 children who were mishandled and abandoned by their mother. And then, I feel, empathetic towards the children because they don't know when their mom's gonna come back, and in the end, they said their mom's not gonna come back. And I had to, it made me feel for them because what I experienced with my mom and my dad is that they'll often argue daily. And that at the end of the day, mom would, sit us down and tell me, things would get better. And I couldn't really, complain about it, If I complain about it, then nothing's going to happen from that. So, I'm just going to have to live with it and accept it from now on. And this made me feel for them because they had to come to that conclusion too. They couldn't complain. That they had to live with it. And here's a picture of me. And he holds dear to me because, one day we can all be together and have people to depend on. I just want Jin and Bin to have someone to depend on too. Like these people did for me, like my dad, brother, and mom. Reflective response. So the human conditions in the Treeless Mountain are below average because Jin and Bin's family were very poor. They didn't have a washer and dryer. They had to wash their own clothes. They barely had enough to eat each night. And some nights they didn't have anything to eat because when they asked their aunt for food, the aunt, would just give him money to go get something to eat, or they wouldn't give him food at all. And then Jin Bin would have to scour for food. That's why Bin was eating the crickets throughout the movie. And this is very poor because their mom couldn't afford rent, so that's why they had to give it to their aunt. And that's like in today's society, you know, most people are neglecting children, like the aunt did with drugs, or like the aunt did with alcohol. Since the aunt was alcoholic, they couldn't really take care of the children. As much like in today's society, like parents wanting, you know, to do drugs, alcohol, and they chase the money, but they forget to raise their kids. Like, it's their job to raise their kids. Because the kids then have a choice to come in this world. And then, so a big effect of neglectance of children is the children become more distant. This is very apparent with Jin, because Jin would not get close to that aunt at all. She would, you know, stay back, wouldn't eat her food. She would barely talk to the aunt because the aunt wouldn't talk to them, and that just ruins the bond with children because you're neglecting them, so they're gonna neglect you back. That's why they were missing their mom so much, because their mom would actually take care of them. And this shows like a big disconnect between the family because the mom couldn't take care of them and the aunt couldn't take care of them, so they had to give it to their grandparents. Well, the grandparents didn't want to take care of them. Like, this is supposed to be a family. You're supposed to like help each other out. But since no one wanted to take care of them, they had nowhere to go. It shows like a disconnect between the interpersonal relationships. And the grandpa called the mother's wife and the mother's husband a bastard, and then the aunt says, "Don't dare you call him that." That shows like a disconnect because the father's not here, but the aunt has to take care of him. But the aunt doesn't want to take care of them because the father's not here and the mom's not here, so she had to give it to the grandparents, saying it's their responsibility now. But it's everyone's responsibility to help each other out. And here's a link to our Purdue about how neglectance of children can hurt everyone and how alcohol affects family. Thank you.